There are so many chilling enemies within the Resident Evil series, and Resident Evil 4 is no exception to this. The enemies of this game hold many dark secrets behind the truth of their origins, so here is the disturbing lore of every Resident Evil 4 enemy. The Los Illuminados cult is an organization that inherits ancient beliefs, bioterrorism, and a quest for absolute power. This disturbing cult has roots stretching deep into the history of the remote Spanish region where the game is set. Originally, they were a religious group that worshipped Las Plagas, viewing these parasites as a means to enlightenment and unity. However, their practices were deemed to be too dangerous, leading to their suppression and the sealing of Las Plagas in the underground mines. The resurgence of Los Illuminados is tied to the game's antagonist Osman Sadler, who manipulated local folklore and dissatisfaction to revive the cult with a new, more sinister purpose. Under Sadler's leadership, Los Illuminados sought not just local, but global domination, using Las Plagas as the key to bending the will of the masses to his own. The cult's methodology involved infecting individuals with the parasite, thereby gaining legions of obedient followers, including the Ganados and other monstrous creations that the players encounter throughout the game. Sadler capitalized on the economic decline and isolation of the rural village to present his revival of the cult as a path to salvation. Through a combination of charismatic leadership, economic support, and the promise of power through unity, he was able to ingrain the cult deeply within the community. The use of Las Plagas allowed for rapid and terrifyingly effective control over the population, turning all villagers into zealots willing to die for Sadler's cause. The children of the village were not able to handle the Las Plagas within their bodies, so none of them ever survived. Los Illuminados' ultimate goal was to extend their control beyond the village, using a combination of biological warfare and psychological manipulation to create a new world order under their command. The cult's willingness to employ extreme measures, including the transformation of humans into bioorganic weapons and the sacrifice of their own followers, shows the disturbing lengths they would go to meet their goal. At the core of the nightmarish transformations and the creation of the various monstrosities in Resident Evil 4 lies the Las Plagas parasite. Unlike the T-virus responsible for the zombies in previous Resident Evil titles, Las Plagas enables cognitive and coordinated behavior in its host, creating a more formidable and terrifying enemy. The origins of Las Plagas trace back to ancient times, lying dormant beneath a remote Spanish village until unearthed by the Los Illuminados cult. This discovery marked a turning point, allowing the cult to exert unparalleled control over the infected villagers and wildlife, turning them into aggressive and unyielding servants. The process of infecting a host with Las Plagas is both invasive and horrifying, involving the implantation of a parasite egg into the body of the victim. As the parasite matures, it integrates with the host's nervous system, taking over their motor functions and bending their will to that of the cult leader Osman Sadler. This manipulation is not without its complexities, as the parasite must be carefully managed to maintain the host's physical capabilities while ensuring complete obedience. The cult's mastery over this process speaks to their deep understanding of the parasite's life cycle and their cruel ambition to harness its power for their own needs. In the eerie and unsettling world of Resident Evil 4, the Ganados stand out as a terrifying leap from the traditional zombies of previous entries. Unlike their predecessors, the Ganados are villagers infected by a mind-controlling parasite, granting them higher intelligence and coordination. Their design is chillingly effective. Dressed in simple rural attire, they blend into the game's Spanish village setting, making their sudden aggression and coordination all the more shocking. The Ganados can wield weapons, set traps, and even communicate with each other to flank and ambush the player, introducing a new level of strategy and fear into the game. The haunting echoes of their Spanish phrases, coupled with their relentless pursuit, creates a pervasive atmosphere of dread that defines the early stages of RE4. The transformation of the villagers into Ganados is a direct result of the Las Plagas parasite's influence. These parasites are capable of taking complete control over their human hosts, aligning them to the will of their cult leader, Osman Sadler. The infection process is both sinister and gruesome, involving the cult's abduction of villagers to be used as unwilling hosts for the parasite's larvae. Once infected, the villagers retain their cognitive abilities but are stripped of their autonomy, becoming more aggressive and coordinated soldiers for Sadler's cause. villagers. This method of infection represents a significant shift into bioterrorism, moving away from the uncontrollable outbreaks of the past to a more manipulative and strategic use of bioorganic weapons. The Las Plagas parasite, once a dormant threat buried beneath the earth, was weaponized to serve the ambitions of a madman. The cult's manipulation of the parasite showcases a dark evolution in the potential for biological warfare, turning innocent villagers into tools of terror. Distinguished by his burlap sack mask and the relentless roar of his chainsaw, Dr. Salvador is a terrifying presence in the village of the Ganados. His introduction is a defining moment early in the game, signaling a significant escalation in threat level and setting a tone of relentless danger and brutality. Dr. Salvador's origins are deeply intertwined with the tragic fate of the village under the influence of Los Illuminados. Once a respected doctor among the villagers, his mind was corrupted by the Las Plagas parasite, turning him into a merciless executioner for those who oppose the cult's will. The drastic transformation from a caregiver to a figure of terror is a symbol of the profound impact that the Los Illuminados and the Las Plagas infection have had on the community. The choice of a chainsaw as his weapon, combined with the sack over his head, serves not only to dehumanize Salvador, but also to instill panic and desperation in his victims. This imagery draws on classic horror tropes, evoking a sense of primal fear and vulnerability. Dr. Salvador's role within the village is both symbolic and practical. He embodies the ultimate loss of humanity caused by the parasite's influence, and acts as a brutal enforcer of the cult's dominance. The Bella Sisters are some of the most terrifying enemies within Resident Evil 4. Like Dr. Salvador, they wear burlap sacks over their heads, concealing their identities and adding an element of grotesque to their already fearsome appearance. Their coordinated attacks and the shrill sound of their chainsaws heighten the sense of danger, making any encounter with them a desperate struggle for survival. Originating from the same village under the influence of Los Illuminados, the Bella Sisters were once ordinary villagers whose lives were drastically changed by the cult's virus. Their transformation into sadistic killers is a direct result of the Las Plagas infection, which stripped them of their humanity and turned them into instruments of terror. Unlike many of the Ganados, who might wield rudimentary weapons or exhibit basic combat tactics, the Bella Sisters are unique in their use of chainsaws and their role as enforcers within the cult's hierarchy. The El Gigante, a towering behemoth of muscle and rage, is another horrifying result of the Las Plagas parasite's manipulation. Its origin lies in the relentless pursuit of physical superiority and unyielding strength by the Los Illuminados cult. By administering an experimental strain of the parasite, combined with extensive genetic modification, the cult succeeded in transforming an ordinary human into this monstrous giant. The process involved not only the Las Plagas infection, but also a series of brutal physical augmentations and hormonal treatments designed to push the human body far beyond its natural limits. The creation of El Gigante was driven by the cult's desire for a living weapon capable of instilling fear and exerting brute force against any opposition. The subject chosen for this transformation was subjected to a harrowing ordeal, enduring excruciating procedures that altered every aspect of their physiology. The result was a creature of immense strength and durability, but at the cost of any remaining shreds of humanity. The creature's presence in the village and its surroundings acts as both a guardian of the cult's secrets and a devastating force against those who venture too close. Del Lago, translating to of the lake in Spanish, is a monstrous creature that lurks in the waters of the lake near the village. Originally, Del Lago was a normal salamander living in the lake, unremarkable and part of the local ecosystem. However, its transformation into a gigantic, aggressive behemoth is the result of exposure to Las Plagas. The cult, under the leadership of Osman Sadler, had been experimenting with the parasite not only on humans but on animals, seeking to create biological weapons and guards to protect their secrets. The design of Del Lago plays into classic horror and monster movie tropes, presenting the player with an enemy that is both alien and terrifyingly powerful. Its massive size and aquatic nature require a different approach from the player, utilizing speed and precision to avoid its attacks and strike when vulnerable. The battle against Del Lago remains as one of the game's most memorable moments, not only for its departure from previous encounters, but for the chilling implications it holds about the extent of the infection from Las Plagas. In the shadowy woods and eerie pathways of Resident Evil 4, players encounter the Colmillos. These creatures are not humans or the grotesque mutations of the Ganados, but rather wolves that have been subjected to the Las Plagas parasite, resulting in their horrifying transformation. The Colmillos represent a unique challenge in the game, blending speed, aggression, and a terrifying ability to ambush Leon, making each encounter a test of reflex and strategy. The origin of these wolves lies in the Los Illuminados cult's comprehensive approach to creating a controlled controlled and weaponized ecosystem around the village. By infecting the local wolf population with Las Plagas, the cult effectively turned these natural predators into yet another layer of defense against intruders. The design of the Colmillos draws upon the inherent fear of predatory animals, amplified by the unsettling changes brought about by the parasite. Their appearance is a grotesque exaggeration of their natural form, with exaggerated jaws, razor-sharp teeth, and a more muscular and aggressive physique. The use of wolves, animals often associated with pack hunting, emphasizes the strategic challenge they pose, forcing the player to remain vigilant for attacks from the shadows, and to use sound as much as sight to detect their approach. Bitores Mendez, also known as the Big Cheese, is a formidable and intimidating figure in Resident Evil 4. As the village chief, Mendez is one of the primary antagonists Leon encounters early in the game, embodying the physical and ideological corruption brought about by the Las Plagas parasite. Standing at an imposing height with a powerful physique, Mendez's appearance is marked by his distinctive long coat and the unnerving calm with which he confronts Leon. Before the events of Resident Evil 4, Bitores Mendez was the respected leader of the rural community, entrusted with the well-being of his villagers. However, his transformation began when he embraced the teachings of Osman Sadler and the Los Illuminados cult, seeing in them a path to power and influence that transcended his previous station. Mendez's infection with the Las Plagas was a turning point, granting him enhanced strength and resilience, but at the cost of his humanity and autonomy. Under Sadler's control, he became a controlled enforcer of the cult's will, using his authority to ensure the villagers' compliance and to oversee the spread of the infection. The design of Bitores Mendez is a masterful blend of intimidation and authority, with his physical prowess serving as a direct challenge to the player. His transformation during the battle against Leon, where he reveals the full extent of the parasite's mutation, is a shocking moment that highlights the grotesque possibilities of Las Plagas. This mutation not only demonstrates Mendez's strength, but also serves as a visual metaphor for the corruption of power and the loss of self that comes with surrendering to Sadler's influence. The Castle Ganado and Resident Evil 4 represent a significant evolution from their village counterparts, reflecting their adaptation to the grand and ominous environment of Ramon Salazar's ancient castle. Their more sophisticated and coordinated tactics, including the use of shields, crossbows, and flails, present new challenges to players, showcasing their higher level of training and indoctrination under the Los Illuminados cult. The Castle Ganado are the residents and servants of Salazar's castle, who have been infected with the Las Plagas parasite, turning them into devout followers of Osman Sadler's cause. Unlike the Ganados found in the village, who are mostly simple farmers and villagers before their infection, the Castle Ganado include members of the castle's ancient escort, strong warriors, and possibly even distant relatives of Salazar himself, all united under the cult's influence. Within the eerie and foreboding halls of the castle, the Garrador stands out as one of the most terrifying adversaries you encounter. This creature is characterized by its blindfolded eyes, razor-sharp claws, and a heightened sense of hearing. The Garrador's introduction in the game is a moment of pure tension, as players must quickly adapt to its unique combat mechanics, relying on stealth and sound to navigate around its deadly attacks. The origin of the Garrador is deeply intertwined with the dark experiments conducted by the Los Illuminados cult. Selected from among the prisoners held by the cult, these individuals were subjected to brutal surgeries and infected with the Las Plagas parasite, transforming them into monstrous beings. The removal of their sight was a cruel adaptation intended to enhance their other senses, making them incredibly sensitive to sound. This, coupled with the implantation of large metallic claws and the aggressive behavior induced by the parasite, turned Garradors into perfect guardians for the cult's secrets. The design of the Garrador is a masterclass in horror, blending elements of vulnerability and unstoppable force. The blindfold suggests a certain helplessness, but this is quickly overshadowed by the realization of their lethal potential. Their reliance on sound to detect Leon adds a layer of strategic depth to the encounters, forcing players to move cautiously and plan their attacks carefully. The chilling sound of the Garrador's claws scraping against the walls adds to the atmosphere of dread that permeates the game. The Armadura are animated suits of medieval armor inhabited by the Las Plagas parasite. These enemies seamlessly blend into the castle's gothic environment, initially appearing as mere decorative pieces before springing to life to attack unwary intruders. Their sudden activation and the metallic clank of their movement add a layer of suspense and surprise to the game's already tense atmosphere. The origin of these enemies is tied to the Los Illuminados cult's influence over the region and its history. The cult, in its pursuit of power and control, utilized utilized the Las Plagas parasites to animate these suits of armor, turning them into guardians of the castle and its secrets. This manipulation of history and art for such disturbing purposes shows the cult's willingness to corrupt and twist every aspect of the local culture to serve their ends. The Armadura are not only a testament to the cult's reach and the depth of their infection, but also to their mastery over the parasite, demonstrating their ability to infuse even inanimate objects with life. Novistadors are the product of a sinister blend of insect and parasitic manipulation, showcasing the Los Illuminados cult's experimentation with insect life forms. These nightmarish creatures were once simple insects that underwent radical transformation through the exposure to the Las Plagas parasite. By integrating the parasite into their biology, the cult's scientists were able to dramatically enhance the insect's size, aggression, and resilience, turning them into perfect predators. The Novistadors' ability to become invisible to the naked eye is a direct result of genetic manipulation, designed to make them even more effective hunters. The origin of the Novistadors reflect the cult's ambition to exploit every possible avenue of biological warfare. The choice to use insects as a basis for these creatures was inspired by their natural predatory instincts and adaptability. The process of creating the Novistadors involved selective breeding, genetic engineering, and parasitic integration, resulting in a creature that could navigate its environment with terrifying efficiency. Their role within the cult's arsenal was serving as scouts, guards, and assassins. The Verdugo, translating to executioner in Spanish, stands out as one of the most formidable and terrifying adversaries in Resident Evil 4. Serving as Salazar's personal bodyguard, Verdugo is one of the two remaining members of an ancient and powerful caste known as the Queen's Guard. This creature's design is a masterful blend of horror and elegance, with its insect-like exoskeleton, elongated limbs, and a tail equipped with a lethal stinger. Its appearance is both alien and knightly, embodying the perfect assassin designed to instill fear and enforce the will of the Los Illuminados cult. The Verdugo's ability to move with incredible speed and its resilience against most forms of attack make it a unique challenge within the game. The Verdugo is the result of one of the most extreme forms of the Las Plagas infection, combined with genetic manipulation by the cult. Unlike the villagers who were turned into Ganados, the Verdugo was specifically selected and engineered to serve as the ultimate protector of Salazar and the cult's interests. This process involved not only infecting it with a specialized plaga, but also subjecting it to rigorous biological enhancements, making it nearly invincible and capable of superhuman agility and strength. Originally human, the Verdugo's transformation is a testament to the dark depths of bioengineering explored by the Los Illuminados. Its loyalty to Salazar is not born of free will, but is instead a direct consequence of the Plaga's control, illustrating the horrifying loss that comes with the infection. The creature's existence is shrouded in mystery, with its past life as a human being a distant memory, overshadowed by its current role as a relentless executioner. In combat, the Verdugo presents Leon with a unique challenge, as conventional weapons are largely ineffective against it. The creature's design and abilities encourage players to use the environments to their advantage, highlighting the game's emphasis on strategy and adaptability. The encounter with Verdugo is not just a test of skill, but a haunting reminder of the fate that awaits those who fall under the sway of the Las Plagas and the Los Illuminados cult. The origin of the Verdugo's frightening abilities, such as its incredible speed, agility, and resilience, lies in this unique blend of biological tampering. The creature's exoskeleton, capable of withstanding tremendous amounts of damage, and its ability to phase through physical attacks, are implemented through the advanced genetic engineering and parasitic augmentation it underwent. This process was not only a display of the cult's technological prowess, but also of its willingness to corrupt and transform its most faithful followers into monstrous protectors. Ramon Salazar, the 8th Castellan of a mysterious castle in Spain, emerges as a key antagonist in Resident Evil 4. His character serves as a guardian of the castle, overseeing the imprisonment and experimentation on villagers and others unfortunate enough to fall under the cult's influence. Born into the noble Salazar family, Ramon's life took a dark turn when he was indoctrinated by Sadler into the Los Illuminados cult. Sadler exploited Salazar's search for purpose and redemption for his family's past sins, specifically their role in sealing away the Las Plagas centuries ago. Convinced by Sadler that reviving the Plaga was his destiny, Salazar opened the seal his ancestors had placed, unleashing the parasite once again upon the land. This act of betrayal against his family's legacy marked Salazar's complete submission to Sadler's will, turning the Castellan into a faithful servant of the cult. Salazar's belief in Sadler's vision led him to commit unspeakable acts, including the sacrifice of his own people and the desecration of his ancestral home. Salazar views Leon and anyone else who opposes Los Illuminados as heretics who must be eradicated, showcasing his twisted sense of duty and loyalty. His eventual mutation into a monstrous form for the final confrontation with Leon is a physical manifestation of his corruption, symbolizing the final loss of his humanity to the Las Plagas infection. The Island Ganados in Resident Evil 4 represent the final evolution of the game's enemies. These Ganados are distinct from their village and castle counterparts in both appearance and aggression, reflecting their role as the cult's last line of defense. Dressed in military-like uniforms and equipped with more advanced weaponry, the Island Ganados are the most formidable human enemies Leon faces. The transformation of the Island Ganados follows the same dark path as the villagers and castle guards, through infection with the Las Plagas parasite. However, their advanced combat training and equipment suggest that they are part of a specialized unit within the cult, possibly former soldiers or mercenaries who were indoctrinated and then enhanced with the parasite. This group's primary function is to secure the island and protect the cult's research facilities, where the most horrific experiments and developments of the Las Plagas take place. Unlike the earlier Ganados from the castle and village, the Island Ganados demonstrate advanced combat techniques, including flanking maneuvers, suppressing fire, and the use of tactical cover. This shift in enemy behavior marks a significant escalation in difficulty and intensity as Leon progresses through the game, requiring players to adapt to more challenging confrontations. JJ is an enemy encountered in the later stages of RE4. Towering over Leon with his imposing stature and equipped with a devastatingly powerful minigun, JJ presents a significant escalation in the threat level faced by players. His military attire, complete with a bulletproof vest and a helmet, hints at his origins and role within the cult's armed forces. JJ is part of the elite military unit under the control of the Los Illuminados cult, likely a mercenary or a former soldier who was indoctrinated and infected with the Las Plagas parasite. This infection grants him not only loyalty to the cult, but also enhanced physical strength and resilience, allowing him to wield the heavy minigun with ease. Unlike the standard Ganados, JJ and his counterparts are deployed to protect critical areas and assets of the cult, showcasing their importance in the cult's hierarchy. Their role is to eliminate any significant threats to the cult's operations, making them a last line of defense against intruders like Leon. The Regenerators in Resident Evil 4 are creatures characterized by their grotesque appearance, with pale, almost rubbery skin stretched over a humanoid frame that moves with unsettling, lurching gait. Their most terrifying feature, however, is their ability to rapidly regenerate any damage, including dismembered limbs and severe body trauma, making them nearly invulnerable to conventional attacks. The eerie, wheezing breaths they emit add to their nightmarish presence, creating an atmosphere of dread whenever they are near. The origins of the Regenerators lie in the darkest corners of the Los Illuminados cult's bioweapon research. These creatures were once humans who were subjected to experimental infection with a specialized strain of the Las Plagas parasite. This particular strain was engineered to enhance the host's regenerative capabilities to an extraordinary degree, allowing them to withstand almost any form of physical damage. The process of transforming these individuals into regenerators involved not only the Las Plagas infection, but also possibly genetic modification and extensive medical experimentation. The regenerators' role is to pose as guardians of the island's research facilities, where the most secret and advanced work on the Las Plagas parasite is conducted. Their invulnerability makes them ideal for ensuring that no one can disrupt or discover the cult's experiments. To effectively combat these monsters, Leon must use a specialized scope to target and destroy the Plagas parasites within their bodies. The Regenerators had a second, more disturbing variant, referred to as the Iron Maidens. This variant underwent additional modifications, likely genetic engineering or surgical alterations to develop their characteristic spikes. These enhancements were designed to make them even more lethal guardians of the cult's facilities, capable of impaling their victims from a distance or up close. The inclusion of the Regenerators in RE4 serves multiple narrative and gameplay purposes. They embody the pinnacle of the game's exploration of bioorganic weapons, representing a significant departure from zombies of the earlier titles in the series. The challenge they present requires players to adapt their combat strategies, emphasizing precision and patience over brute force. Moreover, their disturbing appearance and abilities contribute to the game's horror atmosphere, reinforcing the sense of unease and danger that permeates the island. The U3, commonly referred to as It, represents one of the most grotesque and disturbing enemies encountered in the game. U3 is a pinnacle of the cult's bioweapon research, showcasing the terrifying potential of combining human and various animal DNA with the Las Plagas parasite. U3's design is a nightmarish fusion of insect and reptile attributes, with multiple limbs, a hulking body, and the ability to split its torso to reveal a horrific, more insect-like form. This creature's ability to transform and adapt during combat makes it a relentless adversary, forcing players to constantly change tactics to survive. Designed as an experimental bioweapon, the U3 was subjected to radical genetic engineering and parasitic infection processes. Its development involved the fusion of genes from various organisms, including insects, reptiles, and humans, aimed at creating a being that could surpass any conventional weapon in terms of versatility and lethality. The battle against U3 is not just a physical confrontation, but a symbolic one, representing Leon's fight against the very essence of bioorganic terror and the dark side of human ingenuity. The creature's resilience, coupled with its ability to instill fear through its mere appearance and capabilities, marks it as one of the most memorable challenges in Resident Evil 4. Krauser is one of the main antagonists in Resident Evil 4, showcasing a blend of military precision, brute strength, and biotechnological enhancement. His character design reflects a hardened soldier with a muscular build and tactical gear, but it's his mutated arm that stands out as a symbol of his transformation and allegiance to darker forces. This arm, capable of morphing into a weaponized form with a lethal blade, represents the physical manifestation of Krauser's infection with the Las Plagas parasite and his quest for power. His demeanor and dialogue with Leon, reflecting a history and a rivalry, adds layers to his character, making him one of the most memorable foes in the series. Krauser's backstory is steeped in mystery and betrayal. Once an ally of Leon during his days as a US government agent, Krauser faked his death after feeling abandoned by his country and disillusioned with his role. His search for greater power and purpose led him to align with Albert Wesker and eventually Osman Sadler. The transformation Krauser undergoes is not just physical but also mental. He fully embraces the cult's cause, seeing the potential of the Las Plagas to reshape the world's power structure to his liking. His deep-seated rivalry with Leon becomes more pronounced as Krauser views Leon's interference as a personal challenge to his newly found beliefs and goals. Krauser's role in RE4 culminates in intense encounters that test Leon's skills and resolve. These battles are highlights of the game, combining physical combat, strategy, and the emotional weight of facing a former ally. Krauser's use of both conventional military tactics and the monstrous strength afforded by Las Plagas showcases the hybrid threat he poses, embodying the game's theme of bioorganic horrors entwined with human conflict. Osman Sadler, the main force behind the events of Resident Evil 4, is the leader of the Los Illuminados cult. Sadler's appearance with his long priest-like robes and piercing gaze immediately sets him apart as a figure of immense power and influence. However, it is his ability to manipulate and control both people and the Las Plagas parasite that truly defines him. As the game progresses, players are exposed to the full extent of Sadler's monstrous transformation capabilities, revealing the depth of his corruption and the ultimate fusion with the parasite he worships. Sadler's origins are deeply intertwined with the history of the Las Plagas parasite. Seizing control of the Los Illuminados, he awakens the ancient parasite, using it as a means to bend the will of those around him to achieve his own ends. His manipulation of the villagers, turning them into mind-controlled followers, showcases his charisma and the danger of his vision. Sadler's belief in the righteousness of his cause, combined with the willingness to sacrifice anyone in his path, makes him a particularly chilling antagonist. His mastery over the parasite allows him to exert control over a vast array of bioorganic weapons. The culmination of Sadler's power is displayed in his final transformation, where he becomes a grotesque embodiment of the parasite's potential, challenging Leon to a climactic battle that tests the limits of his skills and resolve. Sadler's character design, backstory, and role within the game's plot elevate him to one of the series' most memorable antagonists, encapsulating the blend of horror, action, and storytelling that has made Resident Evil 4 a landmark title in video gaming. Martinico, an enemy we exclusively encounter in the Separate Ways DLC, was once a fragile test subject despised by its researchers for being deformed compared to the other test subjects. During Ada's mission to infiltrate the island, Martinico breached its containment, running rampant and destroying most of the laboratory in its vicinity, while killing anyone within its way. It pursues Ada all the way until they reach the hallway full of lasers, where Ada then uses her acrobatic abilities to avoid the lasers while escaping the relentless beast. Ada eventually used her hookshot shot to escape the facility, and Martinico was ultimately obliterated by many lasers. Due to being fused with the dominant species Plaga, Martinico has gained significant regenerative abilities, more so than the Regenerator, making it pretty much immune to conventional weaponry. It also endows inhuman levels of strength, capable of destroying concrete walls. This also led to the decline of its intelligence, making it impossible to contain once it escapes confinement. Martinico is impervious to most weapons, making it impossible to defeat by conventional means. Thus, it is mostly oriented around chase and stealth sequences. Much like the other Ganado, brutes are mutant humans created through assimilation with the Plaga's parasite, granting them inhuman abilities. However, unlike regular Ganados, brutes are physically larger and therefore far stronger and tougher in comparison. There are 3 different variants of brutes encountered in the game, being the hammer variant, the unarmed variant, and the crossbow variant. The hammer brute is the first variant encountered by Leon in the village. They are villagers wielding a large sledgehammer with a dodgeable attack. They also wear a mask that is made out of the head of a bull. The unarmed variant is a rare version of the brute. They are villagers fighting with their fists and feet, also with a dodgeable attack. They also wear a mask made out of a head of a white bull. The crossbow variant is a combatant brute armed with an automatic crossbow who can fire a rapid stream of arrows, although they are required to wind it up before firing. They are first encountered on the island. They wear a mask made out of the head of a wild boar and replace JJ, the minigun guy of the original 2005 game. The Hookman is a character from a famously unreleased and largely unseen version of Resident Evil 4, known as the Hookman version. This iteration of the game was part of its development process, which saw several prototypes before settling on the final version that was released to the public. In the Hookman version, the Hookman was envisioned as a ghostly figure, a significant departure from the bioorganic enemies typically found in the Resident Evil series. Characterized by his spectral appearance and wielding a large hook in place of one hand, the Hookman was meant to haunt the player through various environments, adding a supernatural element to the game. This version of RE4 leaned more heavily into psychological horror and paranormal phenomena, with the Hookman playing a central role in creating an atmosphere of dread and suspense. The design of the Hookman, with his eerie, almost ethereal presence, was intended to invoke fear through unpredictability and the impossibility of a traditional fight or flight response, as he could appear and disappear at will. The Hookman was a product of Leon's hallucinations, induced by a mysterious virus affecting his perception of reality. This concept allowed for a gameplay experience where the environment and threats could change unpredictably, blurring the lines between hallucination and reality. The idea was to challenge players not only with physical threats, but with the instability of their own senses, making it difficult to discern what was real. Ultimately, the Hookman version of Resident Evil 4 was scrapped, as the development team, led by Shinji Mikami, decided to take the game in a different direction, focusing more on action-oriented gameplay and the threat of the Las Plagas infection. The Hookman and the concepts from this version were left behind, becoming a fascinating what-if scenario in the history of the game's development. Albert Wesker is a central figure within the broader Resident Evil universe, known for his deeper involvement in the series' overarching narrative. While he does not directly appear in Resident Evil 4, his influence and the consequences of his actions ripple throughout the events of the game, particularly through characters like Ada Wong and Jack Krauser, who have ties to his larger schemes. Wesker's involvement with the Las Plagas parasite and the events of RE4 is indirect, working through agents like Ada Wong to obtain samples of the parasite for his own research, and to manipulate the global bioweapons landscape to his advantage. Click this video here to find out the disturbing lore of every Resident Evil 5 enemy. Thank you for watching.